Hey there, everyone. I'm Sean, and I'm going to take you through my presentation, my thesis on context-dependent memory activated by music. So context-dependent memory is defined as the phenomenon where people are better able to retrieve memories after being shown cues that were experienced during forming the memory. And one of these cues that has been studied to activate context-dependent memory is music. Studies have also shown that changing the tempo of the song from learning to recall results in a better performance on a recall task. However, this performance is a little bit less than those who are given the song with the same tempo. So what studies have shown is if you give one group a song and then change the tempo of the same song, people are still able to elicit context dependent memory better than those who listen to no music, but it's seen to be better in the same song with the same tempo. So since our brains are able to tell that the song is different in some capacity just by changing the tempo, studies show that we might possess some sort of mechanism to detect similarities in songs, such as key and tempo. So one study shows that this mechanism might be the basolateral amygdala, which depresses GABA synapses in order to have better memory acquisition. And this exact mechanism is the same thing that happens when humans experience context-dependent memory. It also occurs in context-dependent fear memory, and it is also the same mechanism that humans use to activate tone-based memory acquisition. So because tempo and key have been shown to be recognized by the brain and are also related to fear memory, they might be the variables that our brain filters for when activating context-dependent memory with music. So other studies show that playing one song during learning and then the same exact song during recall elicits this phenomenon of context-dependent memory, but changing the song from learning to recall may or may not be able to elicit this response. Other studies have not really been thorough in seeing if changing the song can still elicit context-dependent memory. So this shows that there is some sort of mechanism in our brains that is able to differentiate between tempo. And although we're still able to recall memories better than those who don't listen to music during learning and recall, our brains are still able to recall information better when the tempo is the same. So this makes me believe that the presence of music might not actually be the thing that elicits context-dependent memory, but instead some aspect of music that our brains are able to filter out and focus on in order to better recall memories associated with this aspect of music. So this study will be different from others because it studies if our brain is encoded to search for tempo and key together or separate, instead of other studies which have studied if our brains are able to filter out these cues to elicit this phenomenon. So I'm going to go through the study that I'm proposing. So this study would include 5 groups, one control group that would listen to no music during the learning of 20 words, and also no music while attempting to recall as many words as possible. Then there would be 4 other groups that would listen to music during learning and recall. These groups would have mismatched and matched tempo and key. One group would have 2 songs during learning and recall, both songs being in the same key and also having the same beats per minute, which is the variable that measures tempo. Other groups would consist of songs with the same key and different beats per minute, a group with a different key and the same beats per minute, and then a group with songs that do not have the same key or beats per minute. After listening to the song and looking at 20 words during listening, and the words will appear every 5 seconds, the group will be asked to recall as many words as possible while listening to a different song than they listened to during learning. These words recalled do not have to be in any order, and however many words the participant can recall would be the measure for how the memory recall is affected by the presence of music. Studies have also shown that participants listening to songs with lower tempo during learning and recall elicit better memory than those listening to higher tempo music. So in order to keep my results consistent, the groups that have matching tempo will have lower tempo instead of like a higher BPM. I will also be using the same key for the groups that have matched keys for their 2 songs. So for my hypothesis, I think that the groups with the matched tempo will prove to be the best at activating context-dependent memory. The group with matched tempo and key, I think, will perform the best, and the group with mismatched key but matched tempo will perform the second best on the recall stage. I think that these results will happen because of the previously found connection between tempo and memory. A link between key and memory as well would be something that hasn't been discovered before, and would lead to, I guess, a new discussion on what that pathway is in our brain that relates songs with same key together. Key has not really been studied as much as tempo has. I've only seen key studied with dissonance. So I think that a link to key and context dependent memory would be really great to find. All right, so this conversation of key versus tempo is what differentiates this study from others that have been done before, as tempo has been studied previously in the same song, but has not been found to elicit context-dependent memory in two different songs when tempo is the same. Both key and tempo have also not been studied together before, so this would be new for context-dependent memory, as key has only been studied with dissonance. If both these cues provided better memory retention, then this would mean that there are at least two ways of encoding music in our brains. And if both these cues are found to be effective for boosting memory, I'm very curious what other cues in music there might be to elicit this phenomenon. I know dissonance and intensity have been studied before, but we have not found any link to memory yet between those two. If this is true, I'm also curious why our brains are able to isolate these variables in order to boost memory. There doesn't seem to be any reason to have these pathways besides fear. So there might be some sort of link between these variables and also fear learning. And if these pathways are the same for fear and context dependent memory with tempo and key, I am also curious to see if eliciting fear provides for this phenomenon of better memory as well, since it's encoded the same way in our brains. So some possible results from the study would be if groups with either matched tempo or key perform better on recall tasks than other groups with mismatched tempo or key, then that would mean that there is some sort of system in our brain that activates context dependent memory when it recognizes the same tempo or key, and not just when our brain gets some sort of cue like music. Like for example, if key and tempo are proven to provide better memory, then it's not just music that provides context dependent memory. There's some sort of other pathway that our brain has to encode for better memory. And if tempo or key has something to do with context dependent memory, then this shows that fear and our brain's ability to recognize tempo or key are most likely related, which is what some other studies have failed to do. Yeah.